keep my mind open like I always have, talk quietly, listen, and work with others. Make the deals happen, make good conservative legislation pass for Missourians who need it. Thank you.
All right. Same question, Rick, and it is, what will you personally do to foster civility and statesmanship in the Senate?
Well, I mean, that part of the Senate is going around and fostering those relationships within the Senate. Absolutely. And that's exactly what I do. I go and have numerous meetings with numerous people, making sure to try to advance that policy. But I think it has to do with the definition of statesmanship. And I think that's been hijacked into being a politician as opposed to someone standing up for freedom and liberty and the rights that we're swearing an oath to protect and defend. And just last year, actually the past 2 years, the Democrat Party has actually released a statement right after session saying that this was the best session that we have ever seen in the history of us being in the minority. We couldn't have done it better without if we were in charge ourselves. I mean, these are statements from the Democrat Party in a supermajority rule. Yes, things are frustrating because we are saying one thing on the campaign trail as you're seeing that we're fighting for all these things to protect your rights, freedoms, and liberties, but then don't want to do anything about it. We'll allow everything to actually die on the vine and only advance lobbyist agenda items. I'm sorry, I'm not that person. I didn't run, I don't leave my family to allow abortion to be on the ballot. I fight to protect life. And if that makes me a bad guy because I'm going to stand in the gap, then I'll be the bad guy. If that means I've got to be the bad guy to protect your Second Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, your Seventh Amendment, your 10th Amendment, if that makes me the bad guy because I have to stand out on a limb for you, then I will do that. Is that what we expect of us? Is that what you hope of your leaders? I'm tired of business as usual, and that's exactly what they continue to pound home. They want business as usual in the swamp to rule and reign. That is not me and will never be me.
All right, next question. Number 11. And we start with, back to you, Dan. Number 11 is a long one, too. The passing of Senate Bill 727 has a large funding need. This includes near guaranteed money for the education voucher program, but public schools are not guaranteed funding from the bill, as appropriation is required annually. State budget experts say that revenue at the state level will be almost neutral. How will you prioritize funding all the provisions of Senate Bill 727, fully funding the formula, and fully funding transportation so that local school districts can continue to increase teacher salaries?
Since 2017, we fully funded the formula as it exists now. You can argue that the formula is skewed or off, but we fully funded it. We fully funded transportation the last couple of years, finally getting enough revenue that we were able to do that. And I hope that we're planning to continue to do that. I plan on looking at things that we can do a fixed percentage on the foundation formula so that funding stays there. 727 had a lot of great things in it, like teacher pay, huge thing. It had some things that I wasn't so happy with, but it was a bill that was put together to get our education system out of a rut, out of working with DESE, getting things going again. We've been in an educational rut for a long time. It's time to get our teachers empowered to bring these students back into the classrooms that aren't there. The voucher program went from 25 million to 75 million. Education is $10 billion. The voucher program is a small portion of that. But I believe that we need to keep on backing our schools so we can keep on the teacher funding by their pay raise and keep moving forward with this. But I fully support our school districts, our schools throughout. I support all forms of it. Thank you.
All right, who was next here? Rick. I guess. Do I need to read that again?
So I can just talk on.
Okay.
I'll try to.
It's a long one.
It's a very long one. I know it'll take up more time than anything.
You're gonna wear me out.
So yeah, 727, that is a statewide framework voucher. And what does that do? It allows for the dollar to follow the student. What's required in the Missouri State Constitution is that we provide an excellent education for your children. That's what's required. And to me, as a father of 5 children, 3 of which graduated from public school, I have 2 in private now that we're funding right out of our own pockets, I think the dollar should follow the student. I think that parents know best of what's occurring in their children's situation, and especially when it comes to values, when it comes to all the morals and everything that go along with that education, I think it should follow them. And states that have the purest unicorn style of voucher, it's less than 3% actually choose to take part in that. Now let's look at Warrensburg, for example. I mean, the entire district, there's 270 teachers, there's 2,400 students. The average teacher pay is $50,000 a year, but it at a cost of $14,100 per student. That's an enormous amount of money, folks, to send per pupil. If you average that 20 students per teacher, that's almost $300,000 per classroom. Schools should be absolutely no problem of being able to fund their teachers who are on the front lines educating our children. But go look at the superintendent making $200,000 a year and the bloated overhead. We need to be able to look within and see exactly how these local districts are spending your tax dollars, but also allow parents that if they don't like what's going on in their local school district, they have those options. That's all this bill did, and I will fully support it, and I campaigned on it, and I advance it, and I sponsor these things. So thank you.
Michael, you need me to read that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm going to start out by responding to a comment. There is not a person sitting at this table that is going to put up with business as usual. Let's get past the record. There is nothing you can trust in what's coming out of these campaigns. Not their voting record, not the things that they've sponsored and passed. It goes on and on and on. Legislation continues to be distorted. Let's hire servant leaders. Get them into office. Okay, what do we need to do? We have got to fix this education problem. National assessment of education progress at the national level. 50% of our kids aren't meeting grade level expectations. This has got to be fixed. There are combinations of that. I believe that competition has to come within the education system, but we also need to take care of our public schools. The formula used to be tied, and some of these bills were specifically set up, especially with the $40,000 teacher salary. We tied this to different portions, different sections of statute. The bottom line, you need to keep the legislators accountable to make sure that we're funding education. But here's the problem. We have not looked at the foundation formula since 2007. Such provisions such as hold harmless have to be fixed. The way that we're doing accreditation has to be fixed. I've worked on that bill now for over 4 years. How many teachers are in here? We ought to be evaluating our kids based upon what they're doing on academic achievement and on growth, not on command culture. We need to catch up what's happening, but we need a Senate that's going to work and look at these hard issues in order to make changes. This is not an option. The next generation of business, of family, of leaders within Missouri have to get through our education system, and we've got to fix this.
All right, time for our next question. See which one it is here. 14. Number 14 is, excuse me, Missouri has faced significant criticism for its treatment of people with disabilities, including the reduction of funding to the Consumer-Directed Services program. What specific plans do you have to restore and increase funding to the CDS program? to ensure people with disabilities can maintain their independence and receive adequate care. You're up first on this one, Rick.
Well, I think this is a much bigger issue that we have to deal with. Departmentally, across the entire state budget. We have a budget process that's absolutely broken, and there's zero accountability and no capability to dive in to make sure these critical programs like this are functioning properly, the money's going to where they need to go, and to who they need to go to. I mean, our budget process, we only talk about the current increase. There's no diving in to make sure a department is functioning properly. That's why I've sponsored like zero-based budgeting, or even looking into a biannual budget process. Folks, this is huge. Why? Because every single year, we run around like crazy people with our hair on fire, just trying to get a budget every single year. And then we're increasing the budget, and we're not actually diving in to make sure that, hey, Department of Revenue is functioning properly, or they're actually really doing a terrible job and not serving the people that they're supposed to be serving. So it's diving into these budgets and doing our role as elected officials in being the appropriators and the overseers. And with that biannual budget, that would allow us to budget 1 year for 2 years. And then that next year, we're able to really scrutinize every single dollar at where it's going, how it's going, and how it's being spent, and put them on the hot seat like you're putting us on the hot seat. And ask those tough questions. Why aren't these people being serviced when you're being funded doubly year after year after year? That way we can really dive into it. That's how you're going to get to these programs, because right now our current budget process is completely broken. We've over doubled our budget in 5 years, and it's egregious and it's appalling, and you're paying the piper for it. So that's first and foremost how we're going to be able to do that, is to dive into these departments. And it's not just this program, it's countless others that there is zero oversight on those.
All right. Michael's next, of course. Missouri has faced significant criticism for its treatment of people with disabilities, including the reduction of funding to the Consumer Directed Services Program. Now, what specific plans do you have to restore and increase funding to that program to ensure people with disabilities can maintain their independence and receive adequate care?
The budgeting process is broken. And for a guy who used to handle millions and millions of dollars for a strike fighter squadron, I was accountable for every single penny, and I was required on a monthly basis to send my training and action report to Congress. We need to